was gonna see it wasn't that bad year. The running backs aren't
No,
that
it's
bad.
all right. No, Billy wants to go ahead and do 4 of them running backs, which is my absolute favorite. But
I'm trying to look more at them individually as a player, and then kind of add that context in later to say, like, do they fit into this scheme? Do they fit into there?
Top in prospect profiles. This week, Billy wants to go ahead and do 4 of them running backs, which is my absolute favorite. But I'll do what I can, and then Billy will fill you in.
Sense the sarcasm, all right? Sense the sarcasm.
It's okay. I'm just, not as comfortable. Here we go. We've done quite a few profiles here. Let me get down to where Mr. Jonathon Brooks. We'll start with Jonathan Brooks. Jonathan Brooks, 3-year player. Just looking at the box score, it looked like his last year was really the only one that was good. I don't really know exactly who he is playing behind the previous 2 years. Even if I did know, I probably wouldn't remember by now. So 6 foot, 216, a good sized kid, 29.3 BMI, just like a 36th percentile.
Wasn't Bijan there? Wasn't he at Texas? He's Texas, right?
But like, what was that, 2 years ago?
Yeah, no, last year. He's a rookie last year, Bijan. So yeah.
Geez, time flies. But no testing numbers for Jonathan Brooks. I think he had like an ACL thing back in November, if I believe. I believe I'm correct here.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So yeah, no testing numbers for him, so we don't have anything to really compare, but that's okay. I'm sure the tape will tell you that he's pretty athletic. The final year, 1.5 yards per route run, 3.91 yards after contact per attempt, 13.3 yards after the catch per reception. I'm guessing he has pretty good hands, or at least has good vision when he has the ball in his hands. 32 career targets, so not a whole lot of opportunity there with the receiving. PFF has him as an elusive rating of 140.3, which is a really good mark.
Mm-hmm.
His missed tackle for loss, he had 63 rushing and 13 receiving.
Missed tackle forced? Missed tackle forced, is that what that was?
Missed tackles forced, my bad. And PFF pass blocking grade of 77, which is a good mark. Mm-hmm. Actually, one of the better in this class. And then during those pass blocking situations, he allowed exactly 0 pressures last year. So he must be pretty good at it. That. Yeah. What do you got?
Yeah, it's funny, actually. Some of that really lines up with what you see on the film in terms of like the receiving ability. It kind of stood out because I think he is a really talented receiver. He has good transition speed, all that kind of stuff. But I don't think he's like a great route runner. So it's not, I think it's kind of a double-sided coin in terms of what he offers. I think he's great at leaking out of the backfield, and he definitely has good hands, but I think he is a little bit limited in terms of the routes, which is fine. I mean, they're running backs, but some of these guys that we're going to talk about today are a little bit better in that regard. So he has great vision. I mean, that's definitely one of his better qualities, really good contact balance, and also really good blocker. So that all kind of stands out. I think he does lack a little burst, in my opinion. He's like a really solid running back, right? I mean, this is a guy who is probably going to end up being the running back 1 in this class. He could easily be drafted, as the first running back off the board. I think him and Trey Benson are probably the 2 candidates for that. But
yeah,
I think he's a really well-rounded guy, but I do think he lacks a little bit of juice. Okay, I mean, he's patient, he's elusive, he's a versatile runner, but he does have limited long-range speed. That's right from my notes. He lacks dynamic burst and transition speed, but very few holes fundamentally. Excellent pass catcher, above average vision, contact balance through traffic, ideal build for a running back, great bend at the knee and hip fluidity, quick but not fast, lacks speed. He runs tall and a bit flat-footed. He reminds me a little bit like stylistically of guys like Marshawn and like Ramondre, kind of.
Next one, Jaylen Wright. I think I actually will like this kid quite a bit. It'll probably be one that I'll go and actually watch because I think it'll be fun.
We're gonna like him a lot because he's running back 3 for us, and that's the highest between ADP from Dynasty League Football and KTC. So we like Jaylen Wright around here.
Jaylen Wright, 3 years. Again, played 3 years in college. 5'11", 210, 29.3 BMI, very similar to Mr. Brooks. We're in a 4.38 40, so dude's flying. Speed score, burst scores for from Player Profiler have him in 95th percentile. Last year's yard per route run was 1.32 per PFF, 4.35 yards after contact per attempt, which is pretty good. Seems like a dude that's not easy to get down.
Mm-mm.
His yards after the catch per reception, 7.9. Again, I mean, I don't know about the opportunities, but it seems like when he has the ball in his hands, he's able to make a couple dudes miss there. Only 34 career targets. Pro Football Focus elusive rating is 132.2. His missed tackles forced was 43 rushing and 5 receiving. His Pro
Strong.
Football Focus pass block grade, 72.6. So he's a dog there. And in those
Mhm.
pass blocking attempts, he allowed just 3 pressures. What do you got?
This guy has, I mean, he has the highest score you can get for pass blocking, for blocking from for a running back. And I think only one other running back in this class matched that. I think it was Marshawn Lloyd. Both those guys exceptional pass blockers. So that totally lines up. This guy is electric in the passing game. I mean, I'm surprised that he didn't get more targets, but he's I mean, our running back 3, I think he's got it all. Now, he does, I think, lack some vision at the second, third level, maybe. You know, he can kind of try to break it outside, use the speed a little too much sometimes instead of just taking what's there, the green grass in front of him and going. And if you go on our YouTube channel and you check out the film room on him, there's examples of that I point out, but there's also just so much good in his game. I mean, the contact balance is there. Like I said, he's an excellent pass catcher. He's got great footwork, great burst. And again, the lowest grade that he got in terms of any of the attributes was the vision, but really, really elusive. I mean, everything you want to see. He's a fluid runner with excellent burst through the line of scrimmage, great transition speed after making a move. He does lose some speed taking angles, turning corners, but not really a cause for concern. He excels as a pass catcher, breakaway speed, forces missed tackles, and hard to tackle. Potentially the best blocker in the class. That's kind of my overall notes on him. So I really like Jaylen Wright, and I'm hoping that he gets a really nice landing spot and some decent draft capital so that we can keep him kind of up here at the top of the running back class.
Excellent. I like that a lot. I remember your YouTube profile that you did of him was just like, okay, I think I'm gonna like this kid. And this is the first, yeah, and this is the first time I actually went in and looked at the numbers for him. So yeah, have him third on our board makes a lot of sense here.
He flashes, man, and you know, he's actually if you go and look at the film room, you're going to see this image up there, but you're going to see the ADP KTC is way different. I think he was in like the 30s and more like running back 10. So and I think that was before the combine maybe. So after the combine, a lot of stuff shifted. So he's risen up the ranks and he's a really interesting prospect.
All right, next one, Bucky Irving. It's crazy. So I go through multiple databases to get my numbers. I use Player Profiler, PFF, and then I stick with P Howdy for other certain little things. But yeah, I was trying to find Bucky Irving in Peter Howard's database. It does not exist because
the name
his name is not actually Bucky. I didn't know that. If I don't watch Oregon football, right? So, but yeah, Marquise Bucky Irving is its real name.
Yeah, it's funny. PFF has it only Bucky. I thought they would have his real name in there, but yeah, it's interesting where you go. It'll
Just to get the player ID correct, you would think that they'd use but yeah, no, they're smarter than that.
Yep.
That's all right. Bucky Irving, 3-year player again, which is great. 5'9", 192, a little bit slight, 28.4 BMI. Ran a 4.55 40 last year, 1.2 yards per route run, 3.99 yards after the catch per attempt, or yards after contact per attempt. Yards after the catch per reception was 9.6. Again, he probably got a little wiggle in his game. This is pretty good. Career targets, 104. Pro Football Focus elusive rating of 149.2, which is really good. Missed tackles forced, 69 in the rush game and 21 in the receiving game. Pro Football Focus pass blocking grade is 23.6. Pressures allowed on those attempts was 2. What do you got?
Yeah, I didn't really think that he was great in terms of blocking, which kind of makes sense. He's a little bit smaller of a guy, but still sometimes, I mean, Kyron Williams is a smaller guy too, and he gets in it. So, he can run more than just swing routes. Like he can run slants, fades. Like you see that stuff all on tape, which is super interesting because you don't see that out of a lot of running backs. So he's an excellent pass catcher. He also has excellent contact balance for his size. He's slippery, but I do think that I don't know if he's like electric, right? He does lack some burst. So I mean, he's good in short area, making people miss. He has a good base, sufficient vision, but doesn't really excel in that regard. So I think he's more average than he is above average in a lot of these attributes. I like him enough to kind of slot him in as our running back 6 right now, which matches with KTC. But looking at the ADP is a little bit lower than that, and he might end up a little bit lower than that for us at the end of the day.
Last one here, Will Shipley. I was hoping to like him more than I think I do. But 3-year player, 5'11", 206, 28.7 BMI, ran a 4.42 40. So plenty of speed there. Last year, 0.99 yards per route run. I mean, I don't know if, again, this might have a lot to do with scheme.
It's not good.
But it's not good. 2.92 yards after contact per attempt. Also not really good. 104 career targets, though. So they must like to throw to him the ball, but it just doesn't seem like once he gets the ball, he's doing a whole lot with it once he has it. Pro Football Focus has him as an elusive rating of 51.5, which kind of jives with the whole yards after contact thing. Missed tackles forced was only 27 in the rushing game and 8 in the receiving game. Pro Football Focus gave him a pass blocking grade of 25.2. And on those attempts that he had, he allowed pressures on 4 of them, or 4 pressures. So doesn't seem too shifty or all that stout to get up there and protect his quarterback. But what do you see?
Yeah. It's interesting. Like I don't think he has elite lateral agility by any means. I actually think he lacks some lateral agility, but he does exhibit pretty good bend below the waist, and he illustrates ability to evade defenders. However, it's really strange to me because I did like peep the numbers before I watched him on film, and I'm like, after I watched him on film, I'm like, how did the numbers even get to this place? It doesn't really make sense because he might be the best receiver in the class. It's really strange. Like he's up there with the best of them in this class for sure. Like I think he runs exceptional routes, like all over the place, really good transition speed and fluidity, really good receiving ability in general. Like the hands are great. He's not letting balls hit his chest or anything like that. He has pretty good burst, but I mean, in terms of blocking, like he's leaking out more often than not. So, I mean, it seems like he's willing to get into it, but there wasn't that much on tape, to be honest. Like when you go and watch the games, he's really more, like you said, leaking out in the passing game. They want to get him the ball, whether he's effective or not, which is, I can't make sense of the numbers, but he doesn't exhibit long speed, great short area quickness and elusiveness, decisive runner with burst through the line of scrimmage, good change of direction and transition speed, but lacks some acceleration from standstill. Average to above average vision, doesn't always make the perfect read, exceptional pass catcher and route runner, especially for a running back, excellent physicality, better burst than speed.
Interesting.
He doesn't make sense to me. His profile doesn't make sense to me.
You're liking him a whole lot more on film than what mostly PFF has for him. Well, that's interesting. It seems like maybe it probably has a lot to do with just maybe the offense where they're trying to get him to check down, but like maybe he's just not that great with the ball in his hand.
He is though. He is good with the ball. He is pretty solid.
Well, it sure doesn't look like it.
I don't know if it was like more of like, not more of, I don't know if it had something to do with, like you said, with the offense, the scheme, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it just didn't line up to me when I like, especially when you just give me the whole profile and I'm thinking about kind of what I watched in my notes, and it just doesn't line up. So yeah, he's going to be one of the ones that is going to be really interesting, like where he goes, and to see if it's going to be a team that is going to utilize him as a pass catcher. I've seen guys say that they think he can be a more like full-time, well-rounded running back. I don't know. I don't necessarily see that, but I do think that he offers like a skill set that the NFL is going to like, right?
Yeah, and to be fair, like most of these numbers I pulled are from his last year, not like a career year. So if I dug into it more, maybe his first couple of years were better on film than, or you know what I'm saying? Like maybe he had a down year, but it doesn't really seem like it to me. So
yeah. I mean, he obviously, I think he stayed in school an extra year too when he probably didn't need to. Potentially, he also might have had an injury last year. There's definitely some stuff in his profile. I think that there's some caveats in his profile, put it that way. But we kind of line up right with the community, right, with ADP, running back 10,
RB10,
in the middle
yeah.
in the middle of the third round. And I do think that's like like with running backs, we talk about this all the time, right? Like if you're going to get quality opportunity at running backs in the third round, like you want to take them there probably because they can definitely pop. So I think this class is riddled with those kind of picks in the third and fourth round.
I agree. All
Awesome.
right. That was fun.
It was. I was gonna see, it wasn't that bad. The running backs aren't
No,
that
that's
bad.
all right. No, I'd like to go. I'm just a little more familiar with the wide receiver stuff. Just a little more comfortable with it. I could kind of
Yeah,
like, when I'm looking at the numbers, I could kind of visualize what it's going to look like on the field. With the running back, there's just so many things that play into it. Scheme, offensive line, and all those kinds of stuff, right?
yeah. I mean, I'm trying to look more at them individually as a player and then kind of add that context in later to say, like, do they fit into this scheme? Do they fit into there? But I think if we can get a good idea of like them as a player and like what they're good at in terms of their attributes, if they're well-rounded or not, like you can get a good idea of like the kind of style of player you're going to get at the next level. That's at least what I'm trying to do, so I can understand once the draft capital's added to that, like, okay, what can this guy actually do there, like with that opportunity, not just a guessing game, or at least less of a guessing game.